So just wondering then, you don't rate them very highly then?
Not right now, no.
But with job creation particularly?
I haven't really seen jobs being created. I get CVs every day, people asking for jobs. I know there's N-Power. I don't know how that works. Everything seems to be opaque. You probably have to be on the inside to know what's happening. And the communication they have with the public is not adequate. So it's hard to tell anything unless you're directly in the middle of it. But that electrifying atmosphere that would happen when jobs are really being created, I don't see it.
How would you want jobs to be created?
Well, we have to move away from government giving a pittance to a bunch of people and counting that as job creation. I would like to see where economic policies are put in place to enable the private sector, which is a real driver of job creation, to do things. We're being overtaxed. We don't have I'm tired of talking about power and all of that stuff. It's already there. Well, you look at the regulators, and it's so cumbersome to work with any government agency, whether it's the Securities and Exchange Commission, whether it's the Airport Authority, there are just so many laws that don't take cognizance of the fact that the private sector has to be given a free room to grow, to innovate, to expand. We're still running on some agencies on decrees that were set up in 1973. The world has changed. The mandates of some of the agencies have not changed. Attitudes have not changed in government. Everyone is still depending on a few things. Empower the private sector. Make it easier for entrepreneurs to set up businesses. Make it easier for people to want to be productive rather than wait to be assisted. Cut out all these programs that only benefit a few and focus on getting the right things done. I've always said also take out things like the federal character. Let merit be the only basis for which things happen in this country. I mean, what have we got to lose? It's bad enough, so let's try something else. Let's focus on giving the private sector the atmosphere it needs to do what it does best, which is innovate, create, and grow.
It's a little tricky, I mean, because it would seem that the three areas that you mentioned, electricity, when you talk to, say, the Minister of Power, he's going to tell you how it's already in the hands of private sector players, and we're not seeing much in that particular area. You know, there's still a lot of work to be done. We talk about you talked about regulation. I mean, the fact that a lot of government agencies are turning themselves into bottlenecks. They will tell you that there's a committee on ease of doing business, and they keep talking about milestones they've created and how it's a lot easier now to register businesses and what have you. It seems that some work is going on there, but we're yet to reap the benefits. You also do not seem to support the fact that N-Power, you know, you think it's free money.
Well, I have to look at it vis-a-vis productive capacity. The last time I was here, I talked about youth coppers working on large farms, laying rail tracks, and I got roundly abused. Yeah, let him send his children to go and do that. It's because people tend to think government should feed them. I've challenged everybody. Show me in the Constitution where it says government must give you a job. It's not there. Free education to some level. The rest of it, you've got to, you know, go out there and strive to do things for yourself. The private sector we keep talking about it's not enough to say ease of doing business. The ease of doing business for whom? Foreigners? For us here, I'm sure if you go to CAC, 3/4 of the companies are registered. That's not the problem. They must still find something productive to do. The economy must be meritocratic. You should be able to get the results you expect from the efforts that you put in. That's not happening. So you register a company today. So what? How does that help you? We don't even have statistics. I mean, we don't know how many people are doing this, how many people are doing that, all the statistics. Everything we take with a pinch of salt. If you're giving figures, you have to re-verify because it doesn't sound right, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't seem to gel with what you observe. So that's a big problem. Power and the rest of them have always been there. I think Nigerians should be innovative enough to walk around power. You mentioned the private sector taking over the power. Yes, they took over a monopoly. What was the process for picking those people who are running the power companies today? You know, maybe there were cronies or people in office. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not accusing anyone. But if someone is going to be given a power generation company to run, the person must show capacity to improve on their ability to generate power, for example. You can't run around and say, oh, we're not getting enough money from people, the tariffs are not paying their bills, and therefore we cannot. If you didn't have the money, you should not have taken over the company. And the custodians of public property should have made sure that these people coming in have the capacity to do this stuff.
Well, I'm sure that when you speak with the Minister of Power, I spoke with him just a number of days ago, and he was talking about how if they had known any better, perhaps they would have privatized the power sector differently. By that, he meant that it would have been in smaller enclaves because he felt that it would have been a lot easier to manage rather than the big, complicated system we seem to run right now. Nevertheless, you know, what would you be saying that government should be doing right now? Because if you talk to them, they're definitely going to tell you that they're doing something. You just haven't seen it. But you also then accuse Nigerians of not being able to, of not reading what government has been doing so far. And we seem to be more interested in the president's health. So from what you have observed, I'm sure from what you've also read, because I want to believe that you're given a very informed perspective in terms of what government has been doing vis-a-vis what you're feeling in your own daily business, what would you say government should be doing so that Nigerians like you and I can feel even more what it is that they say that they're doing?
Well, I think they should be doing what we had hoped they would do. They gave us the impression when they came in, I'm talking about APC now, the government in power. They gave us the impression that they would have this constant dialogues, they'll let us know what's going on, and so on and so forth. They started with a few town hall meetings and all of that stuff. I think they should continue with that. And I think they should be able to sit one-on-one with people and answer the tough questions. I think they should be able to show us what they're doing.
There's a private sector initiative to do, I think, it's on a quarterly basis, where the vice president who runs the head of the economic team, who's acting president right now, meets with the members of the private sector.
I'm in the private sector. He's never met with me.
So do you think that it should be a little more all-encompassing?
Expanded, yes, absolutely. You can't keep talking to people who benefited from government tax rebates, people who are doing big. Those people don't drive the economy. The economy is driven by small and medium businesses who no one is talking to. They can't get loans, they can't get access to anything, they don't have collateral to get money. Innovation should allow them access to capital. If that's not happening, nothing is happening.
But how would they select, you know, small and medium businesses whom they will meet with? Because of course they realize that government will always say, we realize that small and medium enterprises is some sing-song now that we've heard for a while. But if you're to meet with small and medium enterprises, you do know that that presents a problem by itself because of the sheer numbers of the number of people whom you'll be talking about. What selection criteria should they be looking at?
Well, government shouldn't be the one selecting. What should happen is that the promising small and medium enterprises should percolate to the top because they're relating with bankers, they're relating with the market, their performance should be clear.
The bankers from whom they're not getting any loans?
No, they're not getting loans from the bankers, but they're putting money with the banks. The banks also give guarantees. The bank also, you can't go to the embassy without working with the banks. Whether we like it or not, they're part of the system. But I think what is more important is this, that the small and medium enterprises should have access to funding. Investors should be able to come in. If you look at the stock exchange today, you've got to be one of the big companies, Texaco, Mobil, Guinness, and so on and so forth. That's fine, but you have to have less restrictive methods to get medium companies to be able to access public funds. If I was to put money in your business today, I put in 100 million in your business, I need to be able to know I can cash out at a particular point in time, and I can sell my shares in your company on maybe a second tier or third tier securities market. Those things are not in place. And so everybody is depending on one uncle, one auntie to give them a loan, which is never enough. It's not happening. Government should should liberalize a lot of those regulations to allow people access. Look, if you go abroad, you find a few companies online, for example, like Kickstarter and the rest of them. They allow you to pool funds for private companies. Kickstarter has done about $1.2 billion. And this is private sector led. Give us the right environment, and I'm sure we have enough people to make things happen. I'm not asking government to create jobs. If I had my way, government will be reduced by 60%, because all the people I meet in the ministries when I go, honestly, have no business being there. They do nothing. For them, you know, it's just answered prayers. You get money at the end of the month, and then they make the most noise, but they are not productive people. So there's a lot to be done. I don't think we can cover it all here, but there should be a focus. There should be an innovation czar employed by the government. We should look at customer service. We should be able to enjoy the things we buy. Somebody should oversee quality. We should be able to know that this is money well spent. There should be a machinery for complaints and get things done. If you go to the Consumer Protection Council, they're supposed to protect you and I. They don't even have money to run seminars to train their staff. I mean, we're putting money in the wrong places. Let's sit back.
You know, I'm smiling because just this morning, I mean, in our opening sequence, there was the butt of the conversation, the fact that, you know, the Consumer Protection Council needs to be strengthened, and as an agency, they also need to sit up, because if we're asking people to spend money in an economy, you know, then in an economy that's already in a recession, then whatever money they spend must be money for value. And, you know, the value must be felt.
Absolutely.
So, looking though now, because when you look at the fact that there's a plethora of work to be done, you still wonder why it is we talk about unemployment. What precisely is, what are we not getting right? For a country that still needs to do so much, and yet, you know, there's an army of unemployed people. What precisely is how can we get people into jobs that need to be done?
Very good question. The thing is, if you wanted to go out today to get a job, where would you go? The government is more interested in putting out tenders, journal for contracts, rather than looking at methods to create jobs. Where do you go? Who do you go to? All the kids coming out of university today, where do they want to work? Oil companies. They want to work for banks. Nobody cares about Oluwole and Company, Oluwole and Sons. There is a big problem in the society. We've refused to wake up to the reality that now we must be responsible for ourselves. We still think we're in the 70s when government took care of us. It's no longer the case. So people are not waking up fast enough to the reality that they've got to work a little bit harder, maybe a little bit more focused, and they should be able to reach out within their... People should form cooperatives, form partnerships. I've seen too many people walk through my door trying to sell me the same thing. And I'm saying, why don't you guys partner together so you have a bigger brand, you have a better brand, you have better capacity, you can bid for bigger jobs. So we're still running one-man businesses in an economy that really needs to leverage seriously on the opportunities that we have.
It's definitely an issue, and I'm sure it's definitely going to be something that would form the crux of ongoing conversations for many days to come. We have to thank you very much for coming on Sunrise today. I've been speaking with Mr. Sam Ikoku, who is a productivity consultant.